All right, so I'm just checking to see if my lighting is good. I think it's good. And so I'm just checking to see if my lighting is good. I think it's good. A little bit. Oops, sorry. Lighting is good. I think it's good a little bit. I'll come out a little bit. And let me find my chat. Here we go. Great. Thanks for dropping by my studio again. And today is Watercolor and Draw Tuesday. So I'm going to try and get as much drawing in every Tuesday as I can. Now, we may not paint what we've drawn, but depends how much time we have and how complicated the drawing is. Hey, Dot. Hope you're having a fantastic day. It's a steady, soft rain here, which is very much needed. You can almost hear the flowers singing. They were pretty thirsty. So last week we did this. We did this hydrangea, Tough Stuff, Aha, it's called, and it's a proven winners. And it turned out pretty good. It's always fun to play in your journal just to see what you can do. And last week, if you weren't here on Thursday, we finished the journal, the journal cover. Now, I still haven't put the label on here. We finished this, so we had to do the back. So that's what we did with the back. And as you can see, you still can't see any of the line from the tissue that we put on this one. You can still see it on here, but not on this one. So if you're interested in finding out what kind of tissue we used, you can check back last Thursday. And then we also did the inside, different scraps of paper. And this one here played with the different tissues, and that's the one that doesn't show the line. So excellent tissue to use if you want to. It's almost like using a rub-on. Hey, Cindy, good to see you. Devin, raining there too. Awesome. Do you need it? We do. We needed it badly. Our ground is cracking. We have a lot of clay here. I bought watercolor pencils today so far. Love it. Awesome, Cindy. Hey, Ann. Good to see you. Yeah, watercolor crayons, anything water soluble you can use in this way. You don't necessarily have to color on the paper either. If you have a kind of a rough surface, plastic rough surface, you can scribble on that and then wet it and use your paintbrush to add to your painting if you don't want to actually use your watercolor pencils on the paper. A lot of people do that also, or if you want more concentrated, then you can put it on your paper. Hey, Julianne. Good to see you. Yes, we just had 30 new shrubs and trees planted. So it says, oh, yeah, that would have been a lot of 70. Wow. You must have a large acreage or something. Kathy, it's cold and a bit windy here today. I went out to our Potty artist? I don't know what that is. Yeah, you're getting a lot of cool weather in the UK, aren't you, Dot? Yes, we have. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah. And you probably doesn't look like you put anything in there, I bet. That's the problem with large lots. It doesn't look like you put all that in it until they start growing. So today I thought I would draw a Baltimore Oriole. We have Orioles here, and I like to feed them by cutting an orange in half and just leaving it on the rail of the deck. And they'll come down and chiropodist. I mean, a chiropractor? I'm not sure what that is. Oh, we had a bunch taken out and new put in landscape. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, sometimes they get overgrown. They look kind of ratty. So this Oriole will come down and bring his babies, and they'll sit on the rail of my deck and drink the nectar from the oranges. It's really cool to watch. So here's a picture of one, and this is what we're going to be drawing today. And silver black velvet brushes as pretty. Oh, awesome, man. Yeah, you can't beat Daniel Smith or the black velvet. Pronounced Sir Hop. Oh, okay, thanks. Okay. My garden planter pansies and also some more petunias. Pansies, well, I guess, yeah, if the weather is cool, pansies love cool weather, cool, damp weather. That would go perfect. So if you're going to play along, I will try and leave the picture out beside me so you can, oh, yes, I did this yesterday. And this is the letter J for July. And I'll probably do a printout of this for all the members. And then maybe next week I'll paint it in for you. But today I think we'll just do the bird and the orange. And we're going to do it on a piece of watercolor paper today. So, let's see. I want to be able to get you guys, maybe I'll put that here and this over here and this right here. How's that? Is that good? I'll probably bring it in when I draw, just so that you can see it a little better. Hi, Kathleen. Good to see you. So I'll bring you guys in. Just for the drawing purposes of it, so you can see what we're doing here. Well, I guess I'll do the orange part first. So this is a long, narrow one, and naturally it's not going to be the same size, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is, see this here? We're going to start off with the orange. So this part, this shape right here, it's kind of a lopsided egg shape. So, and it's kind of on a tilt. So we want to compare the size of this to this. So this and this is almost the same. It's a little bit bigger on this part. So we're going to adjust our sizes here. And if you look at, take a pencil, the height of the bird is about the same height as my pencil. And the height of this here is almost 2/3. So if I had 2/3 here, see, it's not going to fit. So what we can do is figure out the total size. So it's from here to here. It's about, like I said, about 2/3 of the bird. And there's only about 1/3 of that. So if we look at our page here, and we divide it into thirds, it would be about there and about there. So we don't want to go past this here. And we want to make it just a tad bit smaller to allow it to be sitting on something. And also, I'm going to have it probably like this. So basically almost the edges touching. So I'm going to look at the top part first. So it's bigger up this part. And I'm looking at the shape. And then it curves around. It's a little bit more of a curve. Look at the shape. Okay. And make sure you have an eraser. I believe in erasers. So there's nothing wrong with redoing something. When you're drawing, I would rather you do that than finish your painting and decide you don't like the proportion or you don't like something in there, but you didn't erase it because there's a community that says you can't erase. Well, that's crazy, in my opinion anyways. So let's put, there's a bit of a rind on here, the orange part, and then it comes out like that. Now it's a little bit short here, I think, so I'm going to make it a little smaller. I'm just going to even it up. Okay, so we got that rind showing at the back there, and then it kind of comes around like this. Like that. And then there's kind of a section, it's almost like a star shape here of the white of the orange. So you can just put that in like that. I'm not too worried about that really. And then there's sections. Now this has been pecked at, so you're not going to really see the sections that well. But you can put them in just as a reminder. And then there is a little bit of a white edge to this, and it kind of goes up the sections a little bit. So you can put that in, and it just goes around, smaller at this end because it's further away. Okay. And then his feet, so his head's going to be up here. So that's about center. So if I'm looking at this, he's turned a little bit, but his eye kind of lines up with his leg here. And his leg comes out. He's kind of sitting. See how the beak is lined up with this orange? There's more orange showing than the on this side than the bird. So I would say it would be right about there would be where the beak would be. And so he's going to be a little bit smaller. The head here is an oval. Okay, and then the body is a nice big round circle. That's all I'm worried about right now. But there's a bit of a gap where his tail is there. So there's where his leg's going to be. There's where his beak is. So I'm not counting the end of his beak. So I'm going to come in a little bit, and then I'm going to make this on an angle like this. So just draw that in, and then the circle of the body overlaps this a bit. And it kind of lines up. There's the center of the body there. Kind of lines up with the edge of here. So I want to come out to at least here. And we want the beak and the body be about there. So I want a nice round circle like this. And then his little legs here. Is this going to be, let's make it a little bit rounder. Okay. Then there's where his foot ends. So his leg is on an angle. And it comes down about, there's a little square here. And then way over here, there's another little square that comes down. And then his leg angles out. And then his little toes comes down like this. And there's a toe that kind of goes around the edge of the, okay, disappears in there. And it's kind of folding over the edge. Is this a state bird cat? No, it's not. Not for us anyways. Hey, Dar. And then this one is not quite, you're looking at it a little differently. So it's more or less straight. So you're kind of getting a different perspective here. And his foot, it's kind of facing you in this picture. So you have a little bit of foreshortening going on. Let's see, give him a little bit of that toe. Center toe is bigger. Put that like that. And then the tail here, he's on a bit of an angle. So his tail kind of goes down like this and then angles the orange part. You can't see it because the leg is covering it, this area here. But then there's part of his tail that comes straight down like that. And then the wing is kind of like this. And it comes up right about there. And just put a line down, kind of a curve to that. And this one here is fairly straight down behind the orange. And then it comes up. Now I'm not going to see part of it, but it goes like that. Okay, let's do his head. So looking at this again, this might be a little bit, needs to be a little fatter in here. Okay. Now, I'm going to erase some of these lines so you don't get confused. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for shapes. I'm not looking at it as a beak or a head. I'm looking at the shape it's making. That way your brain's not going to compete with the other side, your left and right side of the brain, because your generic side says, oh, I know what a bird looks like. It looks like this. And it's usually like a kid's drawing. That's generic, basically. Okay, here we go. So the head, try and just comes to about a point here, and then it slopes down. So point here and slopes down. So I'm gonna, and kind of goes like that. I might have to shorten it a bit. Beak goes in like that. And then it has a shape to it also. So you have to just compare size, angles to your drawing. And it's a comparison that's either around that area or whatever is easier for you to use as for size, making the right size, because it's so easy to have the body too big or too small. And then that can kind of just goes like that. So then I can take this line out, erase it. And the eye is very close. Actually, I think that beak is too high. So I'm going to redo it. I'm just looking at the center part here. So I think I'm going to have to almost comes across like that. It goes up like that. Then comes down. That's better. Then the eye is over here. So I'm comparing where the eye is. So the bottom of the eye kind of lines up for this point here. So from here, draw a little line. And the corner of his eye kind of ends up right here. So that means his eye is going to be up here. And there is a shape to his eye too. It's just not round. Sometimes they have a little bit of an almond shape to it. So he's got a little bit of a different shape. to his eye, like that. Now I'm looking at the markings. So we see the black that kind of dips down. It's almost like he's got a collar. So from, if I drew it, there's his wing, start of his wing. So actually I could take this part. If I look at where it starts here, if I drew a line across, it's not the same. So if I drew a line across here, it's got to be down a little bit more. So I got to bring this head down a little, just a bit. And then his wing kind of moves up a little bit, like that. And then up, starting here, is where this black and orange meet. Now it starts there, so it's about here that it starts to go around, down a little bit, and then just like that. Oh, I've got Top Chat on. Let me change that. There we go. Okay, so there's part of his. Now this wing here, we're seeing part of the back of, or the inside, I guess you could say, but the outer side also shows a bit like that. It's just the way he's positioned himself on this. So you're not going to see his belly. So we can take this out. Now you can see this here, how the wing goes in. So it, from here, it kind of curves inward like this, just a bit. And then we can erase this. And then you have all your markings you can do. So that looks good. You can start just adding little bits and pieces now. So there's a definite line coming from, let's do the black part first. So it comes down. There's a bit of black in here. And then I'm not seeing the very edge of this, so there's a bit of black in here. And then there's white about here. And it just kind of is jagged looking. A little stripe like that. And then these are the feathers that spread when they fly. So there's just basically lines there. Same with here. We have some line for the feathers, flying feathers. I don't know what they're called. Like that. And we have a little bit of orange there. And that comes down a little bit of white, black, orange, and then this is black. So I put that line up a little bit too far. And then the black. Okay. So let's take out some lines here of the orange crossing the feet. You don't need those in. And then if we look at this, there is a, I'm going to make this a little bit rounder there. There is a shadow and a highlight. So you're seeing this highlight right in here. So it kind of goes around the orange, dips down, kind of wobbly looking, like that. And then there's a really dark section right in here, the shadow. And it goes down on the bottom. And this part here is the cast highlight from whatever it's sitting on. The light will hit it and bounce back up onto it. Hey, Melissa. All right. Let's see. So take a look at it. We can make some more jagged lines probably. Let's do that on the head here. Like that. I think I can make this a little bit. A little bit thicker right in here. Okay. And it's kind of hard. We'll just kind of hard to see how this is, but we can put the shadows in here if you want. So there's some kind of, they've been really pecking at it. So that's what they do. They stick their beak in there and pick away at it. They're really funny to watch, actually. And once they know you have oranges for them, they're there every day to come and get it. So that should be, so this is going to be dark areas. All right. So we have a highlight here too. So put that in. And there's a bit of a lighter area around the eye. But we'll worry about that later. Okay, so now what we can do is we're going to use Pyrrole orange, probably Hensa yellow, and we'll make our own black. A little bit of blue in his beak. And I'm going to be using silver black velvet brushes. And this is a number 4 and a number 8. And they have really nice points, so you can get into small areas. Okay, so bring my so I'm gonna, do you want me to stay at this zoomed in, or do you want to be able to see my palette? Because if you do want me to see my palette, I'm gonna have to zoom out, or I could remove this and you can just see me paint with the palette. It's really hard putting 3 things in and getting a close view. So I'll let you decide what's most important, the palette or the picture and palette. I like this view as is, okay. Do you want to see this though, Kevin, the picture? Or just the palette with my drawing? Just palette? Okay. We will do that. Yes, I think all three, unless other people prefer something different. It's easier to just do it this way. I'll show you what I'm painting. I'll just bring the picture out for you to see. That way I can stay at this zoomed in. And I have a bucket of water. It's clean water. It's a dirty bucket, but it's clean water. And there's 2 reservoirs, which is great when you're doing, so you clean your brush and you use the other side for wetting your brush once it's clean. So this is, where did I put it? Fabriano watercolor paper. This is a fairly inexpensive one, and I like it. You could also use Bristol. Bristol works great, or mixed media paper also works great. So you don't have to get into your really expensive stuff when you're first starting out, because it can be pretty pricey, and that I find hinders you when you know the paper is real expensive. You don't want to make a mistake, and you don't learn unless you make mistakes. All right, so with watercolor paper, you can do wet into wet a lot easier than with a sketchbook paper. So what we're going to do is we're going to wet my paper wherever the orange is. So I'm going to be doing all this area here. I'm going to wet it with just clean water. And wherever you put the water is where the paint will go. It won't go past that. So you just have to be a little cautious along the edges, because if you don't want it to seep into those edges, especially using a strong color. And pyrrole orange is very strong pigment. Tail, and I want a fair amount. I don't want it to go dry in patches. And if you just tilt your head, you can see where the water is on your paper. It'll show up. You don't want pools of water though. Okay, so here. I'm not going to do the orange yet, so I'm going to leave the orange. And a little bit on his leg here, and a little on his leg here. I'm just tilting my head to see where it's, you want it evenly moist. So I need a little bit more on there. And over there. So don't have puddles on your paper. You can let it sit for a little bit. If it's got a real shine to it, just let it soak into the paper a little. And again, you can just tilt your head so the light reflects off of it, so you're able to see it. And then you'll find if you've missed any spots. Not painting along should have sealed my lips. You can do it later. I find it's easier probably if you watch first and then do it. Okay, so I'm going to spray this. I want a clean palette because the orange can muddy very quickly. So let's clean this up. Get those colors off. It would muddy it up. And I sprayed my palette before I came on. So this is the Pyro Red, or orange, sorry. Beautiful, beautiful, bright color. Very, very strong. And it's a little bit on the yellow side in some areas. So I'm going to take some of the Hensa yellow and I'm just going to put some of that here. So I know I'm going to use that. And there's also a little bit of a darker tone to it. So I'm going to add a little bit of Scarlet Lake by Winsor Newton. And I'm going to put that probably right here. The shadow of it is a little bit kind of on the red side. All right, so we can start off with the lighter areas. So I know this right side has some almost yellow here. And then there's a little bit of a lighter area underneath the belly here. So you can see that shape. Again, look at shapes. So we can start off with the yellows first. Let's put that yellow in. And it's going to run when you put it in. You don't need a whole lot. It's just dabbing. And if you got too much water on your brush, just tap it on a paper towel. You will find it easier just dabbing, especially if you're working on watercolor. And there's a little bit more on here. And then I can go into the orange. And I'm just going to add to that the Hensa yellow. And then I'm going to just dab again. I'm going to try and miss this area because I want more, a little bit more orange on there. So I'm going to stay away from that area a little bit. And this is when you learn how far your colors will bleed or run or whatever you want to call it. And the bottom here, goes up over here. And then again, it won't go anywhere else but where I have the water. Kind of goes up into here. And then I'm going to mix the two. And we're going to put some of this in here. This is the darker area. And it's fairly dark in here. You got to remember also your paints, depending on what brand you're using, will dry lighter. So it may look really dark to you at first, but you'll see that it will dry quite a bit lighter. The only one paint I know of that doesn't, and that's the Core. It has a really dark, it stays dark. So whatever pigment load you put on, that's pretty well it when it's dry. They're beautiful watercolors. I'm going to add a little bit of orange to that. Get a little darker. Now you can play with this for as long as it's wet, but as soon as it starts to dry, leave it alone. because that's when your blooms will happen. Now we can get preoccupied with fixing things and trying to get the right color, but it's best to let it dry. Once it starts, the sheen is off of it again. Don't touch it. Okay, well, and we can put more on this. This is just the first layer. All right, looks good. Now I'm going to get some Indian yellow here. It's a beautiful color. Wait for it to dry a little bit. If you let it drop to dry by itself, it will spread out more. But we don't have time for that, so I'm going to use a hairdryer. Right. Let that cool if you're using hot, because if you go to paint on a hot surface, it dries instantly. It doesn't have time to spread. So wait till it cools down before you continue to paint again. And also check with the back of your hand once it's cooled, still hot, to see if it feels cool to the touch. If it feels cool to the touch, it's not dry. So you have to dry it a little bit more. Ouchie. Okay, it's dry. So now I'm going to take that Indian yellow, some clean water on my brush. Now I can go over and glaze these areas again. And this will change the brightness. It gives it another color, but you can still see the color we put down, but it just enhances some of this. Kind of brings it together, so to speak. That, and I think I'm gonna put a little bit of color. I want a little darker in here, so I think I might try. It has to be darker than Scarlet Lake, so maybe coral red, cad red, I think. Let's try it. That's all we can do, right? It's a little bit of a duller red. I think it needs it. And I'm gonna mix a little into that orange. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I needed this. Kind of goes across here to the other wing. Down here, and the underbelly is darker. Right up into here. And this part is really dark because it's shadowed more. Now, it looks a little strange, but all we have to do is take some clean water and now just come in from the dry side and wet that edge, and it'll seep into the dry area. And it'll stop the line from being hard. That needs to be a little more orange. There. And a little bit more in here. Only have so much time to play with it before it starts to I gotta leave it. See what it's doing. Let's try it. Cool a bit. So a little warm. So I'm going to go back in here, darken this area again. soften this a bit. Darker down here. Okay, let it dry. Hey, Jasper. Okay, so while that's drying, I'm going to mix up some black. So you want a fairly dark, now you can go either Payne's Gray or ultramarine. I have a French ultramarine. It's a little bit lighter, so I'm going to try Payne's Gray. I'm just going to mix some here. So this is Payne's Gray by Winsor & Newton. And then a burnt umber with it. And it usually gives you a nice black. So you can always test it out. Let's see. Oh, we'll just put some on a kitchen roll. Yep, nice black. And we can do the black area. So there is some lighter areas in his head, but we could either go in with gouache or colored pencil. Sometimes you can lift. It's my head in the way. And around here. using the tip of my brush. Okay, and there's a little bit on the top of his wing here. And right here. So look at your reference to see where those white and black areas were. And then the underneath of his wing. Most of this is kind of a little bit lighter, almost a charcoal gray, not quite black. And I'm not going to fussy paint around those lines for the white areas. I'm just going to take colored pencil and put them back in. If you want to paint them in, go right ahead. And right here, his leg is almost the same color, but I'm going to add probably a little bit of purple to his leg area, just so you can distinguish what's what. This is the darkest areas, so I want these fairly dark. I'm just dabbing. Now his tail has dark under it too, but kind of goes almost to gray on the bottom part. So it's more black on the top. Can't see it there, but there you can see a little bit on his leg there. And then down his wing. Now there's a little bit of orange I see. On the top part of this underneath of the wing. I don't know if that's a cast shadow or what, but we'll add that in later. And then this is black here. And then tape's coming up, so I'm going to put the rest of that wing in there. Let's see. It goes like that. This comes down. A little more black in there. A little darker. Like so. Now, there's almost a blue tinge to his beak. So I'm going to use, what is this one? Cobalt blue. I'm going to water it down. And his eye is also black. It's real black. Make a little thicker amount here. A little more pigmented. And I'm just going to go over the highlight. I guess I could leave it like that. It's working. All right, and then I'm going to do the feet. Now this one looks black, so I'm going to just do that black. The top part of his leg, it's kind of shadowed. So I'll put that in. And I'm going to add a little bit of purple or violet. Kind of make it a muddy color, but a little bit on the purple side. And that's going to be too light. Needs to be a little bit darker. And I'm just going to paint his maybe a little bit more black in there. It's not quite the same color as the wing, and that's what I want. And then we'll do the top part of his little foot here in that color also. And then we'll highlight. Let those dry. Let those dry, and then we'll start doing the orange. So the orange, again, take this blue off, is going to be the Henza yellow. I want a fair amount of it. And pyro red, or not pyro red, the orange. but I'm going to mix a little bit of the Indian yellow with it. It needs to be dulled down just a tad. Not quite as in your face. There. All right, Devin. So I like to start off with the lightest color, which is the yellow. And I'll just do a quick wash. So this is just wet into dry, meaning dry paper and paint. So just a surface of that, and you can Hey, Carol. And then I'm going to do the inside also with that yellow. So I'm going to try and stay away from the white areas though. So this is wet into dry again. And I'm leaving that rind color. And actually, this shadowed area, you could probably put that in. That's fine, because it's going to be darker anyways. So this is what I'm doing right here. So this part's fairly dark up here. Okay. Now we want to dry that before we continue. Right. Now I'm going to take some of that orange and I'm going to mix a little bit of that yellow with it. So I'm just going to add the yellow to this part here. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of that orange and mix in there with the yellow just to lighten it a little bit more. I don't want orange. I want kind of a lighter color. Okay. And then just in this area where the lighter areas would be, just gonna dab. And when you get to the top, do more dabbing than strokes because it's kind of pitted. And then you can smooth out that if you want. We will be making that darker anyways, but you can smooth it out. And then take some more of your orange. And as you go down, use that full strength orange on the bottom part. Just dab. And then you can take some of the orange and go in here. You can color the whole thing actually with this, just the plain orange, the pyro orange. Keep dabbing. And then you see that orange up on the rind here. So we can put that in. You can put a few of the darker orange up in that too. Just here and there though, you don't need a lot of it. Hey Judy. Okay, I'm gonna sop up just a smidgen. Some of this. So you can take a fairly damp brush and soak up some areas if you want to make it a little more speckled. And let's dry that. All right. Just let it cool off a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit more blue in the beak here. Just underneath and around here. It's a little bit darker. The top. Okay. All right, now we want it even darker. So we have a darker area here. So we want some of that red color. That was the cad red. And I'm just gonna have a line I can see in here that's the real dark, and I'm just gonna dab because I still want some of that orange, so I don't want it completely covered up. So I want to dab along the bottom part, and it starts to go up the side a little bit here. And then you could take those little marks, bring them up into this area. This is darker. A little bit more concentrated in this area. You can even throw a few in here on the top. Just a few. I know it looks a bit polka dotty, but we'll fix it in a minute. Let that dry, and then I'm going to take that cad red again and a bit of that orange. And I'm going to go in here where the darker sections were. And I'm going to kind of alternate the colors. And I'm going to purposely leave a bit of the yellow also. That'll kind of give it a look of shadow. There's a bit of the white rind shining through it though, but we're gonna color that too, a little bit on the mauve side. Just taking a wet brush, just going around the edges so it's not so harsh looking. I want it a little bit softer. And a little bit of that grayish black color. And that's going to go over top of this white that we had here. So I don't want to lose the color, but it's not really white. And kind of comes out to here too. So a little bit of that in there. And let's try that. All right. So to bring this all together, we're going to use that Indian yellow. And it's just going to be kind of a glaze over top. And it hopefully will bring it all together. So it's not as speckly. You can't go over it too much though, because then you'll wash it out completely. But it does just kind of puts it all together. There. All right, and there's actually a little bit of that mauve color in the white in here. It's kind of speckled too, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of that in here. Not a lot, but there is a bit of it. So just add a little bit of specks here and there. So it's not pristine looking. And this wing here, this one a little bit shaded. We can add a little bit that to this one. And I'm going to add just a tad of yellow, so it's not bright in there. A little bit there. Okay. And now let's do, I'm going to dry it first and then I'm going to erase some of these lines. And there it is. I just use this one, the Tough Stuff eraser stick by Papermate. They're great. You get in tiny little spots, or you could use a kneadable eraser too. But just takes off the majority, I would say. You'll leave some line, but take some of it out in the white areas. Just clean it up a little bit. And then we'll take a colored pencil and do a little bit more detail. You know, me and my detail. I noticed that that shouldn't be there. So I'm going to mix more like that, I think. And there is a line there. I'll do that with the, if I want to fix anything. Do that now. Add some of these darker areas. You could do this with your pen too. I'm all about mixed media, so I'm not a purist as far as watercolor is concerned. Well, I'm not a purist in anything, really. I love combining. I'm going to put a little bit of shadow in these toes here. And we have some highlights too in here. All right. Hey, Lena. It's Oriole that sits at my feeder every day and eats the oranges. So I like to use colored pencil. So I'm going to close this up. And I'll slide this over so you can see the picture. There we go. Now, I have an assortment of colored pencils here anywhere. Most of them are the ones I have in front of me. I'll show you how I have it sitting. I have it on a Lazy Susan. So then I put these cups in, and then they're all color coordinated. So then all I have to do is turn it and find the color I want. And I have it sitting in front of me. Oh, this was a while ago when a couple streams ago at Janet's. I don't know if she's here. She's probably not, but I said I would show my collection of paintbrushes and how I store mine. Okay, I will flip my camera to the other side of my table to show you. So hang on. That, I guess it's just a minute. bring it out. There's the thing. Oh, in, out. Okay. See that there? That's a it's a clear. I had it in my store, and stuff would sit in it. And there's what, 1, 2, 3, 6, 9 compartments. It's upside down, but you get the gist. And then I have also now I gotta fix my camera. So hold on. There we go. And my lighting. There. Yeah, it is. And then that's not all of them, guys. So I think I beat Janet, because I also have them in the little rolls and in my cupboards behind me. When I find a brush I like, I get a bunch of them. And depending on what I'm using, like those are watercolor, acrylic, and oil. There's 3 different types there. And I also get flat, round, what else? Flat, round, angled, filbert, and also bright. Bright is a shorter, it's a shorter bristle, the brights. I agree. We should be in therapy. Yep. Okay, so let's get doing this here. Actually, I'll bring it out there so you can see it. So there, that's better. So what I'm going to do, I want oranges. So I want to soften this area out. So you try and find the color closest. That might be good. Let's see, that one. Okay. And a dark one. I need a dark one. Yeah, maybe. So this is a poppy red. And this is for the shadowing. Let's see. That'll do. So I like to, I think it needs a little bit darker than that one. So what can we find here? So I need darker a little bit. Let's see if this one. Not bad, but I still need something darker yet. This one is pomegranate. Just the darkest darks. I like to shadow in just to give the definition of the roundness of the bird. So the shadow would be around the wings here. And right in here is fairly dark. And this paper has texture to it, so it will leave some of that texture. But that I'm fine with that. Some people don't like it, but you could go back in and use more paint on it if you wanted to. I like doing small circles when I do mine. Now, if I went in with this color, let's see, a little harder to blend it with the other. Just to bring it in. And then it comes down in here. And up here a little bit. And here. I love using color pencil with paint. Has anyone got questions? And I think I needed some yellow. And I'm thinking of the color that's down on my paper also, because that will change how it looks. Because it won't be yellow, it'll be a combination of color. Because it's mixing, you'll still see the paint underneath, so you got to keep that in mind. This is a great way of learning your colors too, for blending. All right. A bit of yellow in his legs here. All right. And then And I need it black. And then this is kind of grayish. It's not a real deep black. So I'm just going to use my black to make a little darker any areas that I need to put a bit of shadow in. I'll do that in the beak here. Goes down. Fairly dark around his beak and just below his eye. There is a little bit of gray area though around his eye, so you gotta leave that in. But right in here, it's fairly dark. And right in here, it's really dark. Under his chin. And just a few little, when looking at the direction of the feathers, and just putting little marks in those directions. So I'm leaving some of that paint background, but and then around the eye, inside part. The top part of that eye is darker, and there is actually a little bit of a highlight, like a semi, I don't know what you call it, secondary shadow in the eye. So feathers are going sideways here. There is kind of a highlight in there, so I will use a little bit of white probably. About there. And just above his eye here, there's a few on the edge. There might be a few. Let's put a little bit in there. I just like to show that directional feather. I think it adds to a piece. Darker in there. Now I can take my white. I want a fairly sharp Sharpen it. I think I'm gonna bring this out a little bit more. Okay, and now the white has a little bit in the eye here. Not much, but a little bit. On his head, top of his head. And just a smidgen in this part. I'm just very lightly touching. I don't want a lot, but and parts of his beak have a bit of a highlight right in here. And we'll put those white marks. So let's see, 1, 2 probably. Almost looks like a yellow though. Let's see. Soft yellow. So a big one here. A bit of orange in here. It needs to be kind of grayed down a little bit. Edges. Here. Nice and dark in here. A little bit of almost a little bit of orange in there. Interesting. Okay. This has a lot of highlight on it. So I'm just taking my white. And then some black here and there. More or less outlined. A little bit of a shadow. There's no shadow on this one, but I'm going to put a little bit. Or not shadow, highlight, sorry. I think it needs it. All right. What else? What else? Okay. Let's do the orange. So I could actually lighten some of these. A little bit of squiggles here and there. Even some other colors. Maybe a little bit of darker yellow here and there. And I'm just gonna more or less go in the direction that the pulp would be running. So there is a directional way that pulp is. So we can just put a few lines in there. And it's usually in the direction of the center. Okay. And then a little bit of this white here and there, more or less in the center, where that pulp, or the line, the division line, it would be. Indicate that a little bit. A few little bright areas, just from reflective light. Soften that up a little bit. This actually could have been, see, I made it too thick here, but I'm going to leave it. Well, I've done pencil crayon on it now, so it's pretty hard to change. And add a few light spots in here. I guess white. hue. Now, it's a nice dark area under here. See here? Under here. Now, even the texture of the paper is helping me. There's a little bit in here. And it just goes up into this area like that. And a little bit over here. And I'm going to leave the roughness because it kind of looks like orange peel. It's kind of cool. And a little bit of this color up here. It's a little lighter. And there is a lighter area right in here. I'm going to just put a little bit of yellow in here. It's the cast highlight. And a little bit darker in here. I'm just going to go across. So I think that's good. Dark in here. A little more of a shadow there. In here. Can you see it? Actually, there's a few little, I don't know what they are, little lines and knots. Smudges, or I'm not sure what it is. Nope, that's one. Okay, I can get a little bit carried away here. I think this needs to be a little bit brighter. Tosca. Thanks, Judy. Just a little bit of a highlight. How much? Just here and there. On that 1 foot. I think that's good. A little bit of a highlight on there. Maybe on there. Needs to go back here a little bit. There. All right, I think it's done. I could go on, but I think it's done. So get your watercolor out. Find a picture. Here we go. I guess I should put a little shadow on the bottom there so it doesn't look like it's floating. So put shadow. Darker on the bottom. Try it. Now, if you're looking in the in a mirror, or if you're doing it on screen, on camera, look in your view, the other view of the whatever you're using, and you will see different things you need to touch up. It's amazing. All right, I think that's it. So, sign it. And today is the 5th. 7/5/22. And there's the Oriole. My Oriole. So I hope you give it a go, you guys. Oh, thanks, Lena, Devin, Judy, Carol. I don't know. I really love adding colored pencil. I think it just finishes it. I guess I haven't really done a lot of like full on watercolor, like that would take hours and hours and hours. Um, I haven't practiced enough with it. Most of my watercolors are stuff from my sketchbook, or just experimenting. Thanks, Dot. What was that? At least show the stash of pencils. Good idea. Lena, you need to stream on pencil. Oh, you got a lot of pencils? You should see my stash. I started out with colored pencils, Lena. I have a drawer full of colored pencils. I have, what are they called? Those real expensive ones, Pablo's. I can't show you right now, but I will take a picture and show you one day. You have? I want to see it all. I'll have to take show you all my stuff one day. I'll take my phone out and do a video for you guys. Yes, I have the Holbein. I do have those. I also have the luminance. And I have Fabriano. Or not Fabriano. What is it called? Polychromos. Many types. Derwent. Many. Faber-Castell I have. Yeah, lots. What's this one? Faber-Castell. And Kuinar. Have you got as many as Dee Dee? Probably very close, I would say. Yes. The only thing I do not have a lot of, very few, are alcohol markers, believe it or not. I never got into alcohol markers. I'll do a pencil tour on my next impromptu. Oh, okay. Yeah, and I'll on Thursday I'll see about taping something for you, and I'll put it up. I'm on Ustream, so I could put it on my Ustream too, or not Ustream, StreamYard, so you could watch it. Markers are a hard tool to get to learn. Yeah, I just couldn't get the knack of it. I tried them. Mind you, I only had a few, but I don't know. It just wasn't my thing, I guess. And, when you're not into it, you tend not to use them. So, all right. Well, I'll let you guys go, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day or evening, and we'll see you on Thursday. So have a good one, everyone. I'm not fast enough to avoid streaking. I think it's because I keep knowing how easy it is to get a blend. I know, exactly, Lena. That's the way I think, too. Thanks, Anne. All right, let you guys go. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Bye.